Would you want to know the future?
Nope.
Even if it helped humanity?
No.
Why not?
I'd probably screw it up.
All this and more on Gory Storytime.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig. And just so people know that, may realize it's been a couple of weeks, we were laid out pretty bad with COVID for a little while. And last week it was right on the cusp of whether you should go out in public or not. So better safe than sorry kind of thing. I haven't got my voice completely back, and we do have coughing fits. So you probably noticed that in my voice. But just a little explanation. This week, we're doing our third of 4 horror sci-fi movies. And this was the first time you'd seen this one, but we did Stephen King's The Dead Zone.
Indeed, indeed.
Which in the book actually says what The Dead Zone is, but they don't get into it in the movie.
No.
Anyway, basic premise.
Well, Christopher Walken gets into a car accident because of a magical truck.
No, just he gets in a car accident, and when he wakes up from a coma...
5 years later or something.
His life is basically gone.
His girlfriend's gone. His parents thought he was dead.
His job, everything.
Everybody just basically was like, well, he's obviously never coming back. Goodbye.
And he also has the ability to tell your future if he touches you.
Whoops, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah. And that's basically the premise. That and, there's a politician running for a lower office that when he touches him, he sees a bad future.
Yes.
And he wants to do whatever he can to try to stop that from happening.
Yes.
I would say that's the most we can really say without ruining it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we watch the trailer so you can see exactly what we're talking about for this movie from the 80s.
You've been in a coma, Johnny.
For how long?
5 years.
The house is burning. Your daughter's in the house. It's not too late.
You're the talk of the town.
Because I get my head bashed in and I'm still here to talk about it.
Because you have the power of second sight.
I don't know whether it's true or not, these psychic powers of yours. I'm at my wit's end, John. I could use your help. It has to do with these murders we've been having. The Castle Rock killer.
I saw his face.
Just thought I'd stop by here on my way to the U.S. Senate.
Greg Stilson.
He's dangerous.
If you could go back in time before Hitler came to power, knowing what you know now, would you kill him?
I would kill him.
You'd never get away alive.
It doesn't matter.
I'm not crazy,
Those headaches are getting worse, aren't they? As the visions grow stronger and more powerful, so the body weakens.
God has seen fit to bless you with this gift. You should use it.
Bless me!
Not only can you see the future,
I can change it.
We didn't want to tell you as much as they did.
Apparently.
They wanted to tell you the whole movie.
they made it much more about the ending of the movie than anything.
And the rest of it.
1983 trailer.
Yeah.
It's not even that. Like, they'd still have some that are that bad.
They really do. Well,
They have to balance intriguing you and giving away too much. You know?
well, they never did that. They just wanted to intrigue you.
Yeah, well, they gave away too much is the problem. But before we get into our behind the scenes and our favorite and least favorite scenes, it's been a while since we got to do this, so let's tell the people what we're really here for. Are we here to review movies? Sort of. But what is our main focus?
Fat stacks of cash.
And the way we do that is by selling ourselves like prosties. Just
I mean, that's how we were able to afford to not come in for 2 weeks.
yeah, right?
It's the big money we make.
Oh, yes. And this week we had a truckload of, yen
Oh,
dumped off in our yard for us to advertise these fine products. Gory Storytime is brought to you by Little Kings, the children's book series based on the works of Stephen King. We had some of the world's top children's authors rewrite King's best-known stories, removing anything that's too adult. Some titles include It, now called Pennywise the Dancing Clown, Pet Sematary reworked as The Cat That Came Back Again and Again, and Salem's Lot, a.k.a. My Neighbor the Vampire. Little Kings, get yours today, not to be confused with the series called Goosebumps.
and by the ESP Academy of the USA. Do you want to increase your natural ESP abilities? Come strengthen them and get your PhD in ESP ASAP.
ASAP.
Yes. The ESP Academy of the USA graduates are certified to help local PD, FBI, or even the CIA. Check out our ads on NBC, CBS, MTV, and the documentary made for HBO, the ESP Academy of the USA. Get signed up today, or GTFO.
All right. Now, let's get into what you like to call the meat and beef of the show.
Or the MNB of the show.
MNB. No.
Meat and beef, whatever.
Uh-huh. I see what you did. You want to go first? Or you want me to?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Director David Cronenberg had to reshoot the scene in which John Smith has his first premonition. He showed a little girl's room burning and a small E.T. doll could be seen on one of the shelves. The scene had to be reshot when Universal threatened to file a lawsuit against them.
Which I think is pathetic. David Cronenberg fired a .357 Magnum loaded with blanks just off camera to make Smith's flinches seem more involuntary. This was Christopher Walken's idea. So whenever he was flinching from a reaction, he was hearing a .357 go off.
That'll do it. This film and Stephen King's novel are both loosely based on the real-life famous psychic Peter Hurkos. Hurkos claimed to have acquired his alleged powers after falling off a ladder and hitting his head.
The sweat on Christopher Walken's face during the burning bedroom sequence was in fact flame retardant chemical sprayed on him. The resulting effect, though, which wasn't anticipated, looked dramatic to the film.
David Cronenberg wanted to change the name of Christopher Walken's character. I'd never name someone Johnny Smith, he quipped. But in the end, it was left as is. The book does specifically mention how it sounds like a fake name.
The Dead Zone was the first of several Stephen King novels and short stories that took place in the fictional town of Castle Rock. Others include Cujo, Stand By Me, The Dark Half, and Needful Things.
The gazebo where the murder took place was built for the film and was later donated to the town of Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, where it was filmed and is now a favorite spot for wedding photos.
Written in 1979, the novel by Stephen King was the first book of his to reach #1 on the bestseller list as a hardcover, a milestone for King, who said it was one of my most successful ever. It was 428 pages.
For him, that's a short book.
Yep.
During the time Michael Kamen was composing the music for the film in London, he would play the score on the piano in his home. He received several complaints from his neighbors who asked, "Can you please stop playing that music? I can't sleep and it's giving my family nightmares."
Which is good for if you're making the music for a Stephen King movie,
And it's
if the
giving
music
your
is giving
neighbors
people
nightmares,
and they don't even know the context. The gazebo scenes were shot in Niagara. Town officials originally objected to the building of the gazebo. Cronenberg told them it would be temporary and easily destroyed. The town relented, but once they saw the gazebo, they liked it, and now they use it in promotional literature for the town.
Wow.
Notice it's very similar to the one that you had said about it,
But slightly
there was
different.
enough different
Yes.
that I left it in.
Bill Murray was Stephen King's choice for the part of Johnny, while Nicholas Campbell was Cronenberg's choice. Campbell ended up playing Frank Dodd in the film, as Dino De Laurentiis wanted a well-known actor in the lead.
Hal Holbrook was Cronenberg's original choice for Sheriff Bannerman, but Dino De Laurentiis rejected this idea because he had never heard of Holbrook at the time.
All right. Johnny's mother is played by Jackie Burroughs, who is only 4 years older than Christopher Walken.
It's weird when you have someone 4 years older than you playing your mom. Or like on the Golden Girls where the mom was actually younger than her daughter.
Oh, yeah.
In real life. Anyway. A stuntman was severely burned around the legs and groin when a squib went off too close during the shooting of the World War II flashback sequence.
Wow. One of only 3 Cronenberg films that do not have a score by his friend, composer Howard Shore. This was due to studio politics in which Paramount wanted a more familiar composer to write the music for the film. Michael Kamen, who had written the music for the film Venom in '81 for the studio, was chosen instead.
This movie does not explain the meaning of the phrase dead zone like the book does. Stephen King was going off the old theory that people use 10% of their brains, and we haven't unlocked the secrets of the other 90%. And that, when Johnny was in his coma, his brain had to create new pathways to get around the paralyzed part of his mind. So new pathways were created in the dead zone, that 90% that aren't used normally. This enabled him to develop ESP and second sight. We now know that this theory is wrong. In fact, people use 100% of their brains, but the book came out in '79 before we knew that.
In the World War II flashback scene, civilians in the burning city are speaking Polish.
Makes sense for World War II. The underwater scene of the hockey players falling through the ice was filmed at the Woodbridge, Ontario swimming pool where the writer worked at the time. They were on site for 5 days in order to film a 35-second shot. The final cut was about 7 seconds and only showed the kids falling through the styrofoam ice from underwater, as seen in the trailer. The writer got a couple of pics of Mr. Walken in the water, but it never made the cut. Mr. Walken showed up for 3 days and spent a lot of time there and in the water for nothing.
Wow.
Ouch.
Before his accident, Johnny Smith was an English teacher. Stephen King was also an English teacher before becoming a full-time writer.
He does that a lot. He either makes his people teachers, writers, or like he draws from his own life, you know? There's a lot of writers in his books.
A lot of alcoholics in his books.
That's true, too. The sailboat appears in on three different mantles. There's a sailboat picture. In Johnny's room at the clinic, at Johnny's father's house, and later at Johnny's house.
Well then.
Yeah, kind of cool. All right, now, for those who don't know about Rotten Tomatoes, they're a place where they take the famous critics, the known critics, reviews, and they boil it down to, is it a positive review or a negative review? And then they take whatever the total number of reviews are from these critics, and they tell you the percentage that are positive. So it's always, whatever the number is the positive number. And they also have a section where the people can vote, and they get their own number too as an audience.
Yes.
What do the critics say about this movie?
Are a 88% positive rating.
And normally with horror or comedy, they tend to go higher with the audience, but for some reason in this one, it's 77% with the audience.
Yes.
I think it might be because a lot of the audience at the time probably doesn't
read the
use,
book, or
like in '83 wouldn't use the internet now for going to like Rotten Tomatoes. The generation that would tends to want faster paced movies.
Yeah, they wouldn't
and
like
this
this.
is definitely a slower paced movie. So the fact that it's 77 is still good considering it is slower paced.
And a slower paced movie can be good as long as there's still stuff happening, unlike Insidious.
Yeah, this one's slower paced, but there's a lot going on. I mean, Alien, like it's an hour before you see the alien.
It's an hour before he meets the
creepy.
point of the movie.
Oh, in this? Yeah.
And
All
it's
right.
only a 90-minute movie.
Now, we're going to talk about our favorite and least favorite scenes. And since we both like this, let's go with the opposite. And what is your least favorite thing about this movie?
Least favorite thing about this movie is probably... I kind of mentioned it earlier, but the scene where he crashes, it makes little sense. The way the vehicles are moving on the road.
That seems like an editing thing.
Like,
so
it might have been an editing problem, might have been they were using a miniature because they weren't blowing up real people, but those vehicles did not move like real vehicles would have. It's very nitpicky because this is the first, 10 minutes of the movie.
needed to be in there.
It needed to be.
With me, I will say there is a killer that's a subplot, like it's like a B story that takes place in the middle.
Yep.
And the mother of that serial killer, when the cops show up based on Johnny realizing who it was, she defends her rapist serial killing son to the point where she tries to kill the police for trying to arrest him, and she starts shooting at him. And I just hate that woman because I love you as my son. I love your brother. I will tell you right now, if I actually thought you were raping and murdering, I would be the first one to send your butt to jail.
Oh, yeah.
Because I raised y'all better than that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
just, I don't like she's the mom, so she has to, you do not have to defend that kind of behavior just because it's your kid. I am sorry.
Well,
that is false. So that's my least favorite.
Overwhelmingly having liked this movie.
Yeah.
All right.
What's your favorite scene?
One of the ones that sticks out to me, so I'm just going with it, is about 40 seconds after the thing you're talking about.
Okay.
Where that guy is like, I'm not getting caught. I don't want to be part of this anymore. And he decides to not be alive anymore. And the way he does that is so visceral and gut-wrenching.
But you're trying not to spoil it?
It's disgusting and amazing. It's the thing I want in a horror movie. It made me wince.
Yeah. A lot of people would say this is more sci-fi than horror, but Stephen King made sure to get his Stephen Kingness.
He made sure that there was blood.
They definitely Stephen Kinged it.
As much as that's a thing.
I mean, it is. He's usually got some pretty messed up stuff, especially in the novel versions, but,
way more in the novel versions.
That translates to the movies most of the time. Anyway, all right. My favorite scene. Boy, I'm going to say I like, without giving it away, because you were trying not to give away things, the ending. I like the way it ended.
I do not.
It's interesting for anyone that's seen the TV series based on this that was on Sci-Fi, because they had to change it so that there could be a season 2.
I say I do not, but I do. Like, I do like the way it ended.
It's such a
but
good...
I hate
It's
him.
such a good answer, or a good ending for Stephen King. If you're a fan of Stephen King and you know that means... Like, my biggest complaint with Cujo, spoiler alerts for Cujo, is the fact that the kid lives at the end when in the book he does not. Because I understood in second grade reading Cujo...
It's not a happy, feel-good story.
Yeah, you're reading a book about a dog with rabies trying to kill a child. Like, it's not
the
happy.
feel-good story, right?
So, like, I will say this doesn't have, like,
it doesn't
people
stray
suddenly
away from
survive.
making you feel good.
It lets people die that
bad.
you're not going to be happy about, and I'm not going to say who, because
go watch it. It's from 1983, all right? If you haven't, it's your fault.
There is a secondary thing I would have said for least favorite, but I'm not going to say it because there's a picture of it on a magazine. I'll put it that way.
Right.
Right?
That's what I mean when I say I hated the ending. It's like...
Yeah, I know.
That guy, that's worse than the thing he saw him do earlier.
Right. I know. It's very confusing if you haven't seen it, what we're talking about. But trust me, watch the movie and then come back and watch it again and you'll go, I know exactly what they mean.
And then when you do come back, I can say sometimes they come back.
Do the stuff over here on the side.
Oh, yes. Do the thing on the side. That's what he's saying.
That's the thing.
What? We did not.
What? Oh, yeah. That's true. We didn't do her on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to go ahead and give this an 8.5.
8.5? I'll meet you right there with an 8.5.
It's just a
Some
really
of the
solid
special effects
story.
could have been better.
Yeah.
Some of the acting could have been better.
But this was 1983, and special effects were what they were in 1983.
With the budget that they probably had with this,
Right.
of course. Of course.
They always had lower budgets for horror, even if it was Stephen King. Now, to the stuff on the side, because,
to those things. You can watch this show on Fact TV channel 1082, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
And you can like us on Facebook. And when I say us, I mean Gory Storytime has a page, and we've got a bunch of likes there. And you can also like Fact TV. And,
yes,
that's Bellas Falls and Keene at this point, right?
So. It is indeed. You can go to fact8.com and watch a bunch of back episodes of this, as well as thousands and thousands of hours of entertainment.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
I'm at Jiggly Firmbrain. I only tweet things that he says that I find amusing, in or out of context, usually out of context.
Whichever makes it funnier, but out of context tends to be the way.
Yes.
And that's about it, right? You could also check out Gory Storytime on Facebook, type it in, and the two things that should come up are my page and the page for Fact TV. Like, subscribe, smash the notification bell, all those things for both.
Indeed, indeed. And until next time, with our last of 4 sci-fi horror movies, I have been your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig.
And sweet dreams.